Clothes keep you warm because it traps still air against your body. That stagnant air is heated when your body creates heat, and that's how you get warm inside your clothing. That trapped air will keep you warm, and the more active you are, the more heat you will create within your clothing. So what do we do about this? We add layers. So the first thing I have on is a polypropylene base layer. It's nice and thin, it wicks moisture away, and it's designed to be the first layer on your body. This works a lot better than cotton because it wicks the moisture away from your body and it will actually keep you warm even if it's wet. You're gonna notice that everything I tell you is not cotton because cotton is basically the worst thing to wear outside. You can see it also comes in a bottom layer as well. So you have a top and bottom set of these. And of course, don't forget your smart wool socks. Need these bad boys. Almost fell over. Merino wool will also keep you warm even if it gets wet. So having wool socks is super important to staying warm in the wintertime. I would not advise doubling up on socks unless you plan on staying very still and you have very loose socks. You don't want your shoes to be too tight. It'll constrict your blood flow. So you also want to think about if you have 2 sets of socks on, you may end up actually being colder as a result. My next layer is a secondary moisture wicking layer. It is also loose fitting to make sure that I'm not constricting the blood flow in my body. It could be something like Under Armour or whatever. And then I have synthetic sweatpants on as well. And so those are gonna keep my lower level warm. Now, if I was hiking and I was hiking heavily, I may switch my bottom layer to be a set of khaki-ish sort of pants or something like that. And that would be all that I would wear. Because as your body builds heat, it's gonna get trapped in your clothes. You're gonna overheat. You can get nauseous, you could throw up. If I'm being active outdoors, I will always start with less layers and then add more layers if I'm not warm enough. I will bring extra layers with me, but I won't wear them. If I'm going to sit in a tree stand to hunt for hours and hours at a time, I'm gonna put on as many layers as I can. And then if I get too hot, I will take those layers off. So if you're being static, you wanna have too many layers and then take them off if you overheat. If you're being active, you wanna start with few layers and bring more with you. And then if you are still too cold, add more layers on top. So this set of base layers is what I would wear typically when I go out and I'm going hiking. The only exception would be if it's raining or snowing like this, I would need to have a third layer that protects me from the moisture. So if I was hiking out in the woods and it was snowing like this, I'd wear something like this soft shell that will keep the snow off of me so I'm not trapping all my sweat and moisture inside of my jacket, whereas like a rain jacket would do that. Next up is your fleece. This is gonna be a great thing to trap that heat inside your body and keep you nice and warm. It's a little bit more fluffy than the other stuff, and that is what's gonna trap that heat. So I have my moisture layers underneath to protect against me getting cold because I'm sweating, and then I have this that's gonna start trapping heat. And if this isn't enough, I also have a reflective vest. The number one thing you wanna keep warm is your core. By putting this on, you've now warmed up your thorax, which is where all your blood is coming from and going to, and your blood's gonna circulate to your appendages from this now warmed up area. Now let's say that this isn't enough. Let's say that it's snowing heavily and I'm worried that I'm gonna get wet. Your next thing is your hard shell. So let's say that I'm downhill skiing and it's snowing and it's super windy. I wouldn't necessarily want to use that soft shell because I wouldn't be able to put all these other layers underneath it, and I need something a little bit more extreme. And not only do I have a hard shell for the top, I have a hard shell for the bottom. So believe it or not, this is typically as bundled as I would ever get and still be active outdoors. If I went cross-country skiing or downhill skiing wearing what I'm wearing right now, even if it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit and windy, I would probably still overheat. I may want to wear this if I'm going on a lift that's exposed pretty often to go up the mountain so that I'll overheat on the way down and cool off on the way back up. But for the most part, this is absolutely the most you want to wear. If you're going to go sit in a tree stand in the woods and you don't plan on moving all day, I would definitely wear more clothing than this. But in terms of someone who's going outside to do something and move around, this is the maximum that you want to wear. Now don't forget about your hands. Synthetic gloves. They got the little touch for your phone. And gloves are great because you have the opportunity to move your fingers and to grab things and operate a phone if you need to or whatever. But the problem with gloves is that it separates your fingers out from each other. So each one of your fingers is only heating that one finger compared to if they're all together in a glove, all of your fingers are warming each other. So just like we have our outer shell and our underlayers, we also have our underlayer and our outer shell. So now we put these on and we are ready to go. Your hands won't get wet and they won't get cold. Now the number one way that you're gonna lose heat once you're bundled up like this is through your head. Your head acts like a chimney, so if you ever are cold in a sleeping bag, put a hat on and you'll actually warm up quite a bit. I very foolishly forgot the hat that I was going to use for this, so my one piece of cotton today is the thing that shouldn't be cotton. But you need a hat the hat will keep you warm. And if you overheat, the easiest way to deal with that is to remove your hat, and when you get too cold, to put your hat back on. You can also put on a scarf or a neck warmer as well, but that will trap the moisture from your breath against your face. So I usually prefer to just use the beard, but not everybody has that option. One thing that's really important to note is you do not need to spend a lot of money to go outside. As long as you have 3 different kinds of clothing, you can layer them. So you need the moisture wicking layer, the warm fluffy layer, and then the outer shell layer. Once you have that, you have everything you need to go outdoors and have a great time. If you're interested in any of the items I just showed you, I'll put a link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to The Wild Generation for more tips and ideas on how to get outside, have fun, and enjoy nature.